Hello and welcome to Wolfman Gaming. This is my Callisto Protocol Maximum Security walkthrough. And this is chapter 4 called Habitat, and this video is part 2 of that chapter. So we'll be going through the rest of chapter 4. And at the beginning of the first video, Jacob ended up down in the sewers walking around in human waste. And at the beginning of this part, we are gonna wash all that off. Because here we are going into the Black Iron Prison version of a slip and slide. This is the worst flume ride you will ever get the chance of experience in your entire life. And going down this, as I said, slip and slide can be very frightening. This is quite a reactive game section. So I recommend pause this video and break it down into sections so you see where the pillars are coming. And I'm not quite sure how well it comes across in this video, but when you're playing this part, if this is your first playthrough, this feels really intense, and I was quite nervous going into this section on my recording run. Luckily for me and for you and for all of us, I actually got through this in one fell swoop. That is why I left in that's a bit why I left in the cutscene at the beginning, because hitting one of those pillars straight on will kill you. Hitting one of these fan blades will kill you. You saw me take a bit of a hit. I smashed my side into one of those pillars. That you can survive. You can survive, I think it's one of those hits. So if you just clock it a little bit, clips you on the side. Do not test it. I highly recommend you do not test it. But as I said, I was a bit nervous going into that section because it is littered with checkpoints. So if you're struggling with a section, you will not lose much progress, which is a really good thing. But in a walkthrough, you want it to be helpful to people, and being so intense as it is, I'm happy I managed to do it in just one attempt, going through the entire thing, because I don't need it to be made harder by having janky edits, because some sections like that can be really hard to cut if there is a lot of fast movement going on. And whenever I have to reset a checkpoint, I always try, if I die or something, you always try to make the video as fluent as possible. If you can hide any edits, you do. Sometimes it's not possible to do it because I'm not that good at editing and I'm not that consistent. If I had played it 15 million times and reset every checkpoint, I would know exactly where Jacob is placed and it's easier. But that is not the case. That is why you sometimes see those little janky edits. Anyway, enough about that. Going into this next part, this is time to progress slowly. We've had a very intense flume ride. We're wet, we're cold, probably a little bit scared, so we're gonna slow things down a little bit. After you come into this corridor, just take 3 or 4 steps in and this guy will trigger. Then back up against the door and let him come to you. He will grab you and shove you around the other way, and we will grind his ass into the ground with our stun baton. Because in this corridor, I think you will be attacked by a total of 3 or 4 enemies. And there are trigger points in this corridor. So in order to make this as easy as possible and only having to take them on one at a time, we are gonna do this slow and methodically. I say as I mash his ass like ground beef. But that is the first one. So we are gonna move a little bit further in. Just long enough to trigger enemy number 2. Right on cue. So now we back up once again. And I think this is something that is probably programmed in on this game, because enemies sometimes will grab you and shove you around the other way. In my experience, all the enemies in this corridor always do that. They will run up towards you, grab you and shove you around the other way, which I think is a great thing, because it makes it easier to just push them further into the corner and away from any trigger points. And this third enemy, I'm not entirely sure why he triggered. It might be, as I remember it, I think he's supposed to trigger by you moving further into the corridor, so... But maybe he is triggered by the death of the second enemy. Just be aware that he is coming. And you saw enemy number 2. I managed to kill him while he was still trying to mutate. Sometimes you can see like the mutation going on afterwards, even after they have died. I think that's a glitch, because this game has some very odd glitches. The enemy spawns in particular. I have had at one time, I think it was on my first record, I said that I recorded the first 3 chapters once before I started my big recording run. And I think I actually had an enemy that came out of a closed door without opening the door. By the way, this is the last guy. And as you saw, he immediately grabbed me and shoved me around the other way. And he's quite weak sauce, so he's trying to immediately mutate. And when they're going into that mutation process, you can go on the offensive as long as their arms haven't come out yet. But be careful, as I said in part 1 of this chapter, when the enemies go into this mutated state, they will hit harder than they did before. And now the door is unlocked, so if you want to backtrack, you can. And I took a little bit of damage. I think that was from the flume ride. So you saw right there that even if one of those pillars just clips you on the side, it will still hurt. It will hurt a lot. And if you clock them dead on, it will kill you. And that is something I would be a little bit nervous about if I were to play this game on Contagion difficulty. Because I said in the previous video that on Contagion there is no mid-level checkpoints. If you die, you start off at the beginning of the level. And going through the first half of this level only takes around 30 minutes. By the way, do not go down to this door, it will trigger the next section. Before you go down there, you want to go in here and pick up some loot that's in here. But as I said, there is no mid-level checkpoints. I think there are no mid-level saves. I think it might be that you can save and just like turn off the game, but if you die at a level, you will go back to the beginning of it. And that flume ride section would make me a little bit anxious going through this, because me surviving the entire thing, I could watch this video back, because they may have changed the enemy placements. I don't think they've changed the pillars on Contagion mode. So I could watch this video and break it down in sections like I recommend that you do. But having that factor, that one mistake will lead to you going back to the beginning of this level. This level in particular, by the way, because I'm not a huge fan of Chapter 4. I don't think it's the most fun you can have in this game. The second half of it is more fun than the first part, because this is a bit higher paced. And also in this video, I talked about that you can destroy a security robot. This is actually the video where we will be going for it, and I looked up the trophy. Finally, it's called Terminated. Which I think I said, I thought it was a bit of a punny name. And of course it was. I thought it was called Security Breakdown or something like that. But Terminated, of course, it is more or less a Terminated robot. Because anyone that's been caught by those security robots know that they will cut you in half. No discussion. I don't think you can actually survive if one of those robots has started firing at you. Because as I recall, I think that is just a death animation. That he pulls out his gun and just, as I said, cuts you down. And one thing to know when you're climbing up this ladder, I had to do some fancy editing. Because I came up here and I actually missed this chest. And I think I even missed the first chest, which was stupid of me, so I had to do 2 swings around this section. But over to the right in the background, I don't know if you can quite see it, but there you see an open pod. Looks a bit like an alien egg. Be aware of that. It attacked me when I came up here the first time. I think that you have to get attacked by it. I'm not sure. Maybe if you climb up the ladder and immediately like move backwards, maybe you won't trigger it, so you'll have time to shoot it. But since I had to do 2 laps, it is not in the video, so I decide I have to remember to tell you about it, so you don't get caught by it without being prepared for it. And as of now, when I was looking up the trophy list for to find out what the trophy for killing one of those robots is called, I realized that a new trophy list has been added in for the Riot Bundle, which is a new DLC that has come out. It's a pay DLC. And it contains a new game mode called Riot Mode, and as it seems, it is some kind of survivor mode. As I said, I've just found out about it, so I don't know very much. But what I read, just briefing through articles, it is some kind of survival mode. By the way, look over to the right. You see one of those security droids coming. So wait for him to pass, because we're gonna follow him over to oxygen processing over to the left. And that is also the robot we will kill. Or kill. Can you really kill a robot? You can't, can you? Terminate? Destroy? Deconstruct? And destroying the security robots is a really good thing to do, because they drop quite good loot. I was trying to... There is an explosive canister over there to the right that we are gonna use to take out the robot. So I was trying to pick it up, because I thought maybe I can do it now, because I know there's a checkpoint as soon as we get into this door. But no such luck. Trying to grab things with the grip glove from a distance can be very finicky. Sometimes it works, sometimes it just won't. And going down here into this foggy area, as soon as you pick up this health injector, back up, because that will trigger some enemies. One of them is a spitter, so I recommend just lift them up with the grip glove and throw them at the spiked wall. And that is a great thing about having aim assistance on, because I was aiming into... Great. I was aiming into nothing, and when the spitter came into... what should we say? Killing distance? You could see my aim like twitching over to the side. That is my aim locking on to an enemy that has come within reach for me of taking him down. So that is one of the great perks of having aim assistance. When you're aiming blindly into one of those foggy areas, or one of those foggy areas. I think there only is one in this entire game, as I recall right now. But the grip glove, I hope you're experimenting with it, because it is a super fun weapon to use, and if you upgrade it more, it will become a monster. But going back to Riot Bundle, or I will soon go back to Riot Bundle. First, I have to press the wrong button because I was trying to recharge my grip battery pack. Instead, I managed to drop it. Mixing up the buttons. But first, we're gonna go into the right. There is a crawler that is gonna attack us, and it will fill this place with even more steam. He has his cloaking device activated. I like to just move around, wait for him to attack. Always move to the side and swing around with the right analog stick at the same time. If you want to make this a little bit more safe, the grip glove does not notice that there's steam in this room, or mist, or fog, or whatever. So you can just grab him, either pull him towards you and drop him and kick his ass, or even better, if you've upgraded the throwing velocity of the grip glove, pick him up, throw him into the wall, and make him go splat. But now we're gonna go into a side room, because we're gonna turn off a valve so we can get away from, or get all this steam out of here. And I'm not sure if you actually have to go in here, because this room is very odd, I would say. Because this seems like there are no enemies in here, and there is some good loot, so I think it's worth coming in here. Or at least there is some ammo. But when you pull out the fuse, you will see that this room is filled with slugs. So make sure you pick up all the loot and immediately run over to the fuse box. I have never been attacked in this room. I have played through this room 3 or 4 times. I have never gotten caught by one of the slugs. But make sure you pick up everything good. They will not attack you as long as the room is misty. I've actually tried that once. But it's a very odd thing. The thing might be there just to like stress you. But now we have the biochip that we came in here for at the beginning. But before we head on back out on the pathway, because we need this to be able to unlock the door to progress further on. But before we do that, we're gonna go in here on the left, because there is also some nice loot to pick up in here. But going back to the Riot bundle that has been released now. It contains Riot mode, which is a new game mode, which is a great thing. If it's a paid DLC, I think it always should contain something new gameplay wise. Or at least for the price of, it costs 105 Swedish crowns. By the way, quick note here, fire into this little room because there is an attack pod in there. I haven't played the DLC, I just found out about it prior to this narration. I'm not sure I will actually buy it, because I was hoping they would release like a single player storyline DLC for this game. I don't think they will, because the season pass for this game costs 200 Swedish crowns. And the Contagion bundle cost 109, and this Riot mode cost 105, so they have basically covered the price of the season pass, which saddens me. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, I may have, so I might be repeating myself, and if I do, I apologize. But they've also added in new kill animations. Yes, I talked about that because I talked about Mortal Kombat. And also skins. Of course, lots of skins. I'm not a huge fan of skins in general. I think they can be a fun addition, but I think I usually use just the base game skin that is added, that you get through progression of the story. By the way, now it's time to take out the security robot coming in from the right. So we're gonna grab the explosive canister down on the left and throw it in his chest. Immediately lock your aim on at his head and fire at it afterwards. I think it only takes 3 shots, and I have not even upgraded the damage output of the hand cannon. So that's a great thing about throwing the explosive canister at him first, because it will soften him up. And now we have 4,400 credits. So I decided to go for the second damage upgrade on the stun baton, because now we're going into a fight that I am not a fan of. Because there is about 2 billion crawlers in these trees. That is simply not true. There are not 2 billion crawlers. It's only 1.5 billion. No, but I think there's like 6 or 7 of them hiding in these trees. And I like the ones I know where they are to like shoot them once with the pistol, because you do get some initial damage in on them. And I don't use the pistol very much either way, as you have seen throughout this walkthrough up to this point. Because this area is designed in such a way, the crawlers will always try to flank you, and they will try to sneak up on you, and the design of this area makes it quite easy for them to do so. So you can lose a lot of health really, really fast if you get unlucky in this fight. And that is also a factor if you were to play this on contagion mode. The entirety of chapter 4 would have been, for me, a bit of a nervous part in this game, because there is no other part of this game I would really be anxious about. But here I talked about the strategy to like lift them up, pull them towards you, and kick their ass. That is a super effective way of doing it, and the crawlers are quite weak enemies. I think I've said that before, that they don't take much of a beating and they will never mutate either. Which is another... There are some perks to these enemies. The fact that they try to flank you and usually succeed, at least in this area, is a big con when it comes to them. But now, I thought that I had killed all of them. I know that there is at least 1 remaining. No, I tell a lie. I knew there was 1 still going for me. That's the thing. I thought that this one was the last one. How many have I killed at this point? Like 5? 5 or 6? I think it's 5. Feels like it's 15 at this point. And I wasn't sure if I was just being attacked by 1 or 2. That is also the thing about this place, that it's so hard to tell how many you have triggered. And this game is quite light. That is something I realized going through it now with listening to it with headphones, because I've never thought about it when I was playing. That there isn't much audio cues in this game. There's not a lot of music going on. And now, since we have a store just behind us, if you feel the need to go in and buy a health injector, this is a great time to do so. But as I've talked about, the loot drop system of this game, chances are if you stomp on these corpses you will get health if you have lost health. But we're going to the platform that is straight across from where we came out, and this is the thing. I was sure that I had killed everyone. There is one left. So, and also the grip glove of course wouldn't cooperate. So I decided to like just fuck it and run away from the last one. That can be hazardous to do. I wanted to make sure he wasn't following me. But the thing is, because I tried a few different strategies, I tried going back into oxygen processing. And the thing is, both the robot can walk in, and the crawlers can come in through those hatches in the ground. So be careful, just because you saw me turning around, because I wasn't entirely sure that I was safe. Because sometimes they will follow you in here. And very important thing to know about this room that I'm opening up now. Just go down here, open these lockers, grab any good loot you can find in there and head back out. At the end of that corridor there are two things. There is a collectible if you're going for that, and there is also pain and misery. And the reason the door is open now is not because I got followed by anything. That is because I think I had to do an edit, because I tried going down the corridor. That is how I realized. That was what was there was what I was gonna say. Going down there, because there are a lot of enemies. And there are spitters and there are armor plated enemies and all that good stuff. So steer clear. It's not worth it. And here's a section that I really like. This is a little bit like the shoot. There are no enemy spawns. All the enemies that are here are the ones you're gonna face. I like to throw in as many as I possibly can into the giant grinder in the middle there. Especially the brute and the spitter. Except for those guys, I think they are just regular enemies. There is this armored guy, but he doesn't pose a problem, because it's quite odd that even these armored fellas take less of a beating than a brute does. And now of course things are going a little bit faster for me to kill, since I have done the second damage upgrade of my stun baton. I recommend you do so as well, not because you need it, just to make combat go more fluently. And I remember this part. I was hoping that I hadn't depleted my grip battery, but I had. So I tried desperately to throw him into the grinder, but the game just wasn't cooperating, because that is a thing with the grip. If you have depleted it completely, you can see it's just a blue outline. That means your battery is dead. It will still recharge, but I think it takes longer. And I haven't looked this up completely, but I think if you have not depleted it totally, it will start regenerating energy directly. But I think if it is completely depleted, it will stay depleted for a while and then immediately, go back at full force, like as if he had put in a new battery pack. I am great at making making coherent sentences now, I feel, so hopefully you get what I mean. And as I said, I realized that at the end of this chapter, now it's time to say goodbye to this orange jumpsuit, because now we're getting our new suit, which will give us our 12 inventory slots and also bigger health bar. So Jacob is being a little bit hesitant, and I wouldn't say that I blame him. I am not a big fan of heights. So I would be quite anxious as well, but what's the option? Staying behind? Fuck it. But that is the end of Habitat, and I hope you are enjoying the walkthrough this far. I know I am. But I want to thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again in my next video. So until next time, this is the Wolfman signing off.